From the interaction of two opposing impulses, then, and from the association of two opposing principles, we have seen the origin of the beautiful, whose highest ideal is therefore to be sought in the most perfect possible union and equilibrium of reality and form. But this equilibrium always remains only an idea, which can never be wholly attained by actuality. In actuality, there will always be a preponderance of one element or the other, and the utmost that experience can achieve will consist of an oscillation between the two principles, so that at one moment it is reality, and at another form that is predominant. Beauty, an idea, then, is eternally only something indivisible, unique, since there can exist only one single equilibrium. Beauty in experience, on the other hand, will always be twofold, since through oscillation the balance may be destroyed in a twofold fashion, on one side or the other. I have observed in one of the foregoing letters, and it may also be necessarily inferred from the connection of all that I have said hitherto, that we may expect from the beautiful at the same time a relaxing and a tightening effect. A relaxing one in order to keep not only the sense impulse but also the form impulse within their bounds, a tightening one in order to maintain both of them in their strength. But in idea, these two modes of operation of beauty should be positively only a single one. It must relax by tightening both natures evenly, and it must tighten by relaxing both natures evenly. This is a natural consequence of the notion of a reciprocal action, in virtue of which both parts jointly condition each other and are conditioned by each other, and the purest product of which is beauty. But experience affords us no example of any such complete interaction. Rather, we invariably find deficiency to some overweight. What, therefore, in the ideally beautiful is distinguished only in imagination, in the beautiful of actual experience, in the condition of existence, is really distinct. The ideally beautiful, although simple and indivisible, reveals in different connections not only a melting but also an energizing quality. In experience, a melting and an energizing beauty do not exist. So it is, and so it will be in every case where the absolute is set within the bounds of time. Thus the reflective man conceives of virtue, truth, happiness, but the man of action will only exercise virtues, only apprehend truths, only enjoy happy days. To lead back these latter to the former, to achieve instead of moral practices, morality, instead of things known, knowledge, instead of happy experiences, happiness, is the business of physical and ethical education. To make beauty from beautiful objects is the task of aesthetic education. Energizing beauty can no more preserve a man from a certain residue of savagery and harshness than melting beauty can protect him from a certain degree of softness and innervation. For as the effect of the former is to brace and his nature both in the physical and in the moral sphere, and to increase its elasticity, it happens all too easily that the resistance of his temperament and character diminishes his sensibility to impressions, that his gentler humanity too suffers a suppression which should affect his crude nature alone, and that his crude nature experiences an access of strength which should be available only to his free personality. In periods, therefore, of strength and exuberance, we find real greatness of imagination coupled with the gigantic and fantastic and sublimity of feeling with the most shocking outbursts of passion. While in periods of regularity and of form we find nature suppressed just as often as we find her controlled, just as often outraged as surpassed. And since the effect of melting beauty is to relax the disposition in the moral as in the physical sphere, it happens just as easily that with the violence of desire, energy of feeling too is stifled, and that the character also shares a diminution of strength which should affect passion alone in the so-called ages of refinement. Therefore, we shall see tenderness degenerating not infrequently into softness, plainness into platitude, correctness into emptiness, liberality into license, lightness into frivolity, calmness into apathy, and the most despicable caricature side by side with the most splendid humanity. So melting beauty is essential for a man under the constraint either of matter or of form, since he has been moved by greatness and strength long before he began to become sensitive to harmony and grace. The need of a man swayed by the indulgence of taste is for energizing beauty, since in the state of refinement he fritters away only too lightly a strength which he brought over from the state of savagery. And now at last, I think we can explain and answer that contradiction which we usually meet with in the judgments that people make about the influence of the beautiful and in their estimation of aesthetic culture. The contradiction is explained as soon as we remember that beauty is twofold in experience, and that both sides assert of the whole genus what each is only in a position to demonstrate in a particular species of it. The contradiction is resolved the moment we distinguish the twofold need of mankind to which that twofold beauty corresponds. Both sides will then probably turn out to be right, if only they're first agreed among themselves which kind of beauty and what form of humanity they have in mind. In continuing my inquiry, I shall therefore pursue the same path which nature follows with man in regard to aesthetics, and rise from the species of beauty to the generic notion of it. I shall examine the effect of melting beauty on the tense man, and the effect of energizing beauty on the languid man, in order finally to dissolve both these opposite modes of beauty in the unity of the ideally beautiful, just as those two opposite forms of humanity are absorbed in the unity of the ideal man.